Hello everyone, welcome back. So, I've been doing a little bit of work off camera. Been doing a little texturing, a little lighting, a little more playing around with the ProBuilder and level geometry. And I'm probably going to do a lot of this off camera cuz quite frankly it's not my strong suit and I take a long time doing it. But I do want to do a video about how to use ProBuilder to texture and color levels. So that's what this is going to be, and this will be a fairly short video. There are a few apparent issues that, given that this is a test level, it's fine. But things that become more apparent as you're kind of thinking about building your game and how your setup is first off, just look at the size and the scale of this. Right, so I'm standing here. I'm presumably a human being of average height, and my wall. These bricks are first off giant, right? Well, if you think about it too, this rabbit is apparently waist height to my character, right? Like that's a problem too. What rabbit is up to what would presumably be a person's knees in height. If you consider if this was at the 0 position on the ground and jumps to chest height. A normal rabbit will jump to chest height if it's going straight up and higher even. But for this scenario where we're standing here running around, this rabbit's huge. These bricks, from our perspective, are pretty massive, as well as these torch sconces. I think that's a sconce, is what that's called. This is the height of a person's torso, going by a relative size. The height of the room is fairly, shallow. And, quite frankly, these, the only texture I really spent any time messing around with was the ground texture. Like, this one's the bare bones default. Just a bunch of things. There's no windows, there's no real ambiance to the room, and you could add some details like some furniture, or I know wooden crates and barrels is the big trope for medieval style games. Maybe like some paintings or some vases or chandelier from the ceiling, or any other medieval themed thing you could come up with. But quite frankly, it still just looks like it's very clean, it's very sterile, it's lacking character. Which I think is something I'm going to come back to in my next part is, I want to take a little walk through some of the, some of the indoor areas in, like Dragon's Dogma or Dark Souls or some other medieval game. I'll have to look through my Steam library and see what I have as far as a candidate goes. But kind of just taking a closer look at some of these other level styles and geometry and, the detail that people put into it, and kind of analyzing what makes it a coherent and believable level versus something like this where, this wouldn't be out of place in a wizardry type of thing, or a, Might and Magic, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons style game from the 80s. So, with that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and take our indoor area 2, and we're going to go through the process of texturing this and applying a color to the ceiling using ProBuilder, just so, I can show you guys how this works and, kind of talk about some of the pains I had with it, because I did have a few pains in dealing with this type of thing. So, first off, when you're setting up your textures, we got to choose some textures. So let's go ahead and take a look at our, what do I want even? I want my vertex, my UV editor, and I want my material window. And I can have these sort of on screen. I'm going to run out of real estate here pretty quickly, I think. But for the starting out here, let's go ahead and I think I'm going to clear all of these out. Clear out my palette. And let's go ahead and look through the materials I have. So, let's see here. The floor, I think I saw one that was pretty cool earlier that I liked. Was it this one? No. Was it floor 3? Yeah, it was floor 3. I thought looked pretty cool. It had an interesting pattern to it. And we're going to do this as a normal diffuse with our normal map attached, because the specular is a little shiny, you know, and I'm not a huge fan of that, at least on rock. You know, it just feels a little weird. I tried to do a little bit of research, and you know, I'll just say this now, if you're going to do any kind of serious level building, get ready to do some research. But I was doing some research into what kind of rocks have like a shiny gloss to it and which ones don't, and you know, were those types of rocks used in medieval architecture or Dark Ages architecture or whatever, you know, whatever time period I'm aiming for here, you know, a fictional time period. And I couldn't really find anything as far as a straight answer, but you know, I did look through a lot of Google images and things like that, trying to get ideas for you know, for what kind of architecture I want to aim for, and you know, some of the details and some of the ways that, you know, people put together, you know, their buildings back then. But you know, just to proceed here, so we're going to use this as our floor texture. We need a wall. What's wall 6 look like? Wall 6 is all right. So I got that. What about wall 7? Let's go ahead and try wall 7 out. Yeah, so that's a specular one. Let's go ahead and 07 specular, 07 diffuse. Let's go ahead and grab these textures here. So I'll grab this guy for our base texture, this guy for our normal, and he is imported as a normal map, okay. And for our specular, we'll do the same thing. And materials, I'm going to go ahead and drop the diffuse in here. Now, let's see here. So yes, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to bring my UV editor in here as well. This is going to get a little crowded, you know, but we'll just have to live with it. So there we go, and bring this out a little bit. So there we go. So, you know, using ProBuilder, we have our normal toolbar up here. I'm going to be selecting faces for the moment. Well, first off, let's look at the scene unlit. And actually, I don't have a light source in here. At least not a normal one. Yeah. Yes, this is the unlit. This is, or rather, using the default lighting that I think is based on the skybox. You know, given the bright spot that hangs out here. If we no, okay, we're not using the default skybox. I forgot when we switched our scenes up, we lost a lot of that. In our lighting window, what do we have going on here? Yeah, we don't have our automatic change to lighting. Because, you know, a quick tip here. If you're separating your scenes out or loading scenes additively and you want them to take part in having lighting built into it, you can't use the GI cache to store your lighting information. You know, if you want to take advantage of lighting in a different additive scene, you know, you need to just build it manually. And I forget exactly the reason why that was, but that solved my issues with my level loading and my lighting being weird. But I think for while I'm building, I'm going to do it auto, because my lighting's going to need to recompute while I'm texturing, and then at the end I'm going to bake, and it'll kind of prevent me from having to go back and forth between the lighting and the texturing and rebaking every time I need to make a change to get rid of you know, weird artifacts in the game. That being said, yeah, let's go ahead and we'll use our actual in-engine lighting. And let's just grab a face wall here. So we got this guy, and let's apply our wall texture. Nothing happened. It's very strange. Let's go ahead and convert to manual. It's planar. Oh, I think this is one of those things where it has to wait for the lighting to update. So sorry, to go back there for a second, in this UV editor tool, I've got this toggle here that allows me to choose whether or not I'm editing texture data in the editor, or if I'm untoggled like the normal way, I'm editing geometric data. So this is useful for scaling, transforming, and rotating textures on a surface in the editor rather than having to tinker around with this this thing. No, you know what that is? That's because I don't have a light source. Let me just turn that off. Okay. And for this guy, let's go ahead and get rid of this skybox, because I really still think that's the deal with... No, it's not the deal with this splotchy light. Gosh, where does that come from? I don't know. That's very weird. Ambient intensity, ambient GI. Source is going to be real-time, skybox source, reflection source. Reflection intensity is super high. Reflection bounces. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'll do a little research and I'll get back to you guys on where that where that spotlight comes from. But in the meantime, we have our texture here. So we have it, as you can see, it's tiled. It's reasonable size. So with this glossy kind of look to it. It's not particularly reflective itself, though it does have a bit of a shine to it, kind of like it's a whetstone than anything else. But those bricks are super tiny, and as you saw in the previous room, I got these giant bricks that I kind of like. So let's go ahead and grab this, and let's toggle our in-world editing. Now that I have the in-world editing toggled, as you can see here, I'm going to drag this around. You can see my textures getting dragged around. Let's back up, actually. So you can see, I'm dragging this horizontally, I'm dragging it vertically. And it might be a little hard to, make out through this with the, this highlight color. But you kind of just have to deal with it. So let's go ahead and scale. And let's make this a little bit bigger X. Let's make this a little bit bigger Y. Let's see, we're kind of getting a little bigger here. If we're going to be about this high, I kind of like that. Let's just select this face, and we're going to transpose this a little bit. I'll bring this up a little bit. Oops. My bad, I turned off the, that thing. God, this thing. Sometimes it's, it's a real pain. Turn this back on. And let's zip up a little bit. So as you can see here, I'm I'm trying to line up the bottom of my bricks with where my floor is. There we go. That's fine. That is perfectly fine. Now we're going to do a little thing here where I'm going to select this face. And I'm going to hold down Control, and I'm going to select my next face. And that, you can see how the grid expanded out compared to this one, which is our normal size. What that did is it stitched my UV settings from this surface over to this surface. So it realigned the UV position and the UV scaling and rotation, so it'll stitch seamlessly with this wall. And you can also do this, which one of these is it over here? I think that's Fit UVs. It might not be. I'm not sure. It might be Weld UVs. But you'll see here once I apply my texture, stone wall 07, you can see it applied at the same size, at the same scale, and that in here you can see that our textures actually line up immediately on the seam. Naturally, that's not realistic given this is a sharp corner. As we'll discuss in the next part, you would typically want to hide that texture seam with, something like a cylinder column or something going up to the ceiling, or some other kind of extruding piece of masonry, or whatever you could think of to hide that. Maybe like a set of curtains on the corner, or drapery, whatever, tapestries. You want to hide those seams in your level to, just to make it less apparent to the player what exactly is going on. So, oops, that's the floor. So we'll apply that there. We'll apply this here, 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 and here. And I'm going to go ahead and click this, and control click this guy. And we'll control click this, this, and these two. And you can see we are more or less, still seamlessly wired up here. No glaring issues. These black splotches are from our lighting rebuilding. Once it's done, that'll be to a reasonable set. And we also need to do the inside of this. Oops. Now these kinds of doorways are messy, right? Because we want to coincide with this and with this, but at the same time, what do we want this to coincide to? We want it to coincide with this part. Like, that makes sense, right? Because this brick is on the corner edge of this piece. But at the same time then, this no longer matches this, right? Or does it? No, it does. So it does, but it looks a little wonky, right? Because now you have this rock here that's hanging out. It's got this little sliver going in. But what is it? Just like a little rock with a little dangly bit hanging out in the center? Like, the way our textures are lined up aren't exactly, or rather the way this rock is shaped isn't exactly conducive to, building this structured doorway that is magically made out of rock. That's where we would get into a little bit more detail, and you would want to put like, some kind of like wooden support beams in your doorway and have an actual door and, things like that, to not only add some more flair to your level, but to hide where those textures don't exactly make sense. Now we're going to go and apply our texture to the floor. Assuming I can actually get my face select to work again. So there we go. We're going to apply that. That. And I think we're going to leave our doorway as this brick. And we're going to stitch that in there to, you know, to get the size back. Now for our floor, you know, let's go ahead and scale this out once again. Let's make this big. Let's go big on this one. So I'm just going to stretch it out until it looks more or less square again. That actually looks really good. I really like this floor texture. This looks really nice. Like, I think it actually fits the art style I want too. Like, I don't have to go into Photoshop or anything and, you know, touch it up with, you know, some cleaner colors or anything like that. Or using the painter tool to darken and bolden the creases. So, you know, once again, we'll go ahead and select this guy. I'll control this. This is weird though. What's going on here? What happened? We actually got lifted up at some point. And that's very weird. That was never, that's not intentional. As far as I can think. We rotated. So we're going to disable this guy, and we're going to... Yeah, what happened here? We got rotated. Oh. Let's undo that. I think this is from when we actually attached the vertices of the door. Like, that's the deal, is it just got a little wonky. You know what, for the sake of our demonstration here, and once again, this is a test level, I'm not going to worry about that too much. But let's go ahead and, so we saved that, and we got our stupid ceiling here. I don't have any good textures for dealing with ceilings. And that's fine because we're going to actually color this using a whatchamacallit, actual vertex color. So first off, because the materials, or rather because the shader on this object is going to be our bump diffuse. Also, I don't know if this will actually work combined. In my previous level, I selected this face and detached it from the model. But I wonder if I can just use the material editor to add another material that is a colored... God, what the hell is it called? Let me find it real quick. I'll just tell you what it's called. Yeah, just vertex color diffuse. Yeah. So let's go ahead and just grab this into our materials. And let's select our face and apply our material here. And let's choose the vertex color editor. I got this palette here, which I'll pull back into the screen. So I got this palette where I can define the colors I want to define. I've got this gray color I kind of used for the ceiling, which is fine. You could also do like, you know, whatever color you want to do. Now there is a paintbrush thing. I'm going to try to get this to work again because I couldn't get it to work earlier. So if I choose color editor, I've got this expanded out already. I'm going to use the painter mode. I'm going to bring this in. And this has a few other extra options like, you know, brush size and things like that, opacity. And it also has this paintbrush thing. So let's go ahead and do that. And absolutely nothing happened. Once again. So this is super weird. I don't quite understand this. It doesn't actually work from what I've been able to figure out. But whatever. The, you know, the palette one does, so that's fine. I'm happy with that. So in addition here, let's go ahead and turn off auto. Let's build our lighting. And save. Close out this, and let's go ahead and open up our scenes. Let's go to our test area and run. Now we're going to just go ahead and run through here. Let's head on up. And you can see our very, very dark room, right? Because we have no lighting. So let's pop back to our scene, and we're going to go ahead and add a couple of, a couple torches, a couple lights. At the moment, I only have this one prop for torches. Let's bring this in. Let's rotate to -90. And let's get you vertex. Well, I'm using Pro Grid, so I do have this 3D grid, and allegedly everything is snapping to it. Yeah, so that actually worked perfectly. This Pro Grid tool is pretty cool. You know, it forces things to snap to a certain point, and I can, allegedly I can turn this on or off. Yeah, so off, and I can just drag whatever on. And when I pull, it pulls in units, which is really nice for even distance placement. And let's go ahead and drop our scale down. Well, no, you know what? I'm going to leave that as it is. I'm not going to worry about that too much. I had already discussed a few things around that. Let's go ahead and push this over here. And I'm going to go ahead and duplicate again. And we're going to go ahead and go to the other room in an equal distance. And let's flip us back around to 90 degrees. Bring it in. So that one doesn't snap quite as well. Grab the wrong one. And let's grab our Z and our Y position. So Y is going to be 14, Z is 38. Oh no, not Z. Is it Z I want? Because this looks like I'm going about the x-axis. Did I accidentally hit local or something? I did. Okay. Let's go. X is 7. There we go. And we're going to go ahead and do the same thing again. Duplicate. We're going to bring this guy on over. On over to what? X26, Y14. X26, Y14. Oops. Oh god, I can't click on anything. Well, I don't have a camera anyway, so that doesn't matter. Let's pop back to scenes, go back to our test area. And in it, and actually, you know what? I'm going to stop being lazy. What did I call the player position thing? There was something I called it specifically or tagged it specifically. Player start position, no script on it or anything. Untagged. Alright. So grab that name. Area 2, new game object. Player start position. And we'll just go ahead and start like right here. So we'll save that, test stone door area, and for our init, we'll go ahead and start in area 2. Oh. That's interesting. Is there anything else I needed? That's very weird. Our players started over there. Why? This should have found our player start position and set our position there. Well, clearly it didn't. Which now makes me wonder if it ever did. Nope, it sure didn't. So, that's something else to fix. But let's go ahead and proceed anyways, just to show off the level with our lighting. Oh, and you can see our lighting is actually going through the wall, which is a problem. But now you can see we got our lighting, you know, just like the other room. That's interesting. Because the, so let's try something real quick. Let's do an exercise. So, since I've changed the lighting in conjoining areas that aren't completely blocked off, let's load in area 1. Now, I don't know if you knew this, you can right-click Open Scene Additive and bring it in. And let's bring in our loading area. Right, so that should be good. Let's hit our lighting and let's build. And this should build the lighting for all 3 scenes. See the lighting building down there in the right corner. They are all set to manual, yes? Yes. Sadly, this part takes a minute or so. So I think for this case, if I just put this into a coroutine and do a yield return by 1 frame, well, so no, the problem is, levels to load. We're loading this normally, but we're loading this additively is kind of the issue, right? And we need to load it additively because we need the two scenes together, but I need to wait for this scene to finish loading. And that's kind of, that's kind of for real for the case of an actual game also, right? Like if this was more than just our test levels, we don't want like half the level to be unloaded when we pop in and, just cross your fingers and hope the whole thing is loaded in until the player gets there, right? Loading additively is good for scenes that we're loading in while we're playing, but beforehand we want to make sure everything's loaded in that we need immediately. So, do I want to just force it to wait, or do I want to do a, So I could just do a yield return and check to see if the scene is loaded or not. Do a while not sc.is loaded. But ultimately we shouldn't be able to do anything until the scene's loaded anyways. Oh no, sorry, wow. I literally just reversed on myself. It has to be loaded additively because of the reason I stated before, that it's an additional scene in the level. So I think that'll work, but in the meantime now we'll save our scene. Pop open our test indoor area, and let's see if that solved our lighting. So yeah, that weird issue we were seeing before isn't happening. This guy's still a little bit lit, which is interesting. But that could just be the ambient lighting coming in from here, going outward. I'm not sure exactly. And since it's all baked and we're not casting shadows with our player, which, we could change. Let's take a look here. So first person player, that's on the rigid body if I remember right. No, that's, where is it that it asks if we want to cast shadows or not? Is that on the mesh renderer? Which I don't have a mesh, so yeah, that's on the mesh renderer. So let's give ourselves a body. So if you look here, we have this guy that tells us where we're pointing, which is good for AI, but we don't need it for ourselves. Now, an easy way to add a glance to tell direction when we're dealing with these capsules. And let's go ahead and we receive shadows. We cast shadows on. Except that we're not casting shadows. Yeah, I don't know. But that was just an interesting, little aside I thought we'd see. But, in general, that's our texturing and coloring with ProBuilder. And, like I said before, I think next time we'll take a look at an example of a professional game and the way they do interiors like this. And, I'll kind of point out and discuss the observations I have in regards to that. But I think for the most part, at least until I get, much better at it, I feel like I'm not going to be making much commentary while I'm building a level. And I think it would probably just be very painful to watch. So I'm probably going to be, going a little light on videos. I've been doing an episode every day for quite a while, as far as being scheduled. Every developer session, I usually get 5 or 6 videos out of it. But I think for this, we're going to start seeing a little slowdown in videos because the work I'll be doing will be more, more manual effort. And I might consider doing something like live streaming it. As long as I don't have to talk too much. That's kind of the deal. If it becomes a distraction and it slows down my work, then that's a problem. And we can't be having that because ultimately I have to finish a game and get it out there. Yeah, that's the goal. Anyways, I'm rambling. So I will see you guys next time, and take care.